One of the biggest reasons why League is such an enduring game despite having the exact same gameplay loop for the past going on 16 years is because no two games ever play out the exact same way. You can go through 1,000 matches, heck 10,000 matches, and I assure you every single one of them will be distinct in their own way, no matter how much it feels like jungle diff in all of them. Although it usually is. You can attribute that to the sheer extent of character selection the game has. With over 170 champions to play, the number of unique combinations of 10 in League are measured in the literal quadrillions, allowing for practically infinite variety in champion interactions and of course synergy. While not explored quite to the same extent as other games involving team building, League is no shortage of champion combos that serve to improve the effectiveness of both participating members, the most common terminology for such an occurrence being the all too famous Wombo combo. For today, I wanted to make a video detailing, in my opinion, the strongest champion duo combinations in League, explaining what makes each of them incredibly powerful and beneficial for both characters. Like with any top 5, top 8, top 10, top whatever, this will of course be subjective and dependent on what you prioritize. So after watching the video, let me know any champion duos you think are also very strong in the comments. First one's gonna be a rather interesting combination that you don't see too often, Taric and Kindred. One of the least common in the game, but one of the most powerful in almost any given situation. What makes Taric such a valuable support in the right circumstance is how much extra stuff he can give to a champion. He can heal them, and by extension nearby allies, he can buff them for bonus armor based on his armor along with the shield, and he can give them a handy 1.5 second stun emanating from their own body as well as his, not to mention of course the super ultimate that is Cosmic Radiance. He was basically Yuumi before Yuumi came out, and a healthier way to design Yuumi at that. Just one caveat though, much if not most of the practical benefit of Taric's ultimate gets lost on the activation condition, forcing you to wait 2.5 seconds before allies in the circle become invulnerable, giving the enemy team a chance to kill you before that takes place. Well, Kindred's ultimate, Lamb's Respite, can not only buy time for the incoming invincibility, but the combination can be extremely deadly. As you know, Lamb's Respite effectively turns everyone standing within it into Tryndamere, preventing their HP from dropping below a certain point. Initially, this was intended to be a net neutral, since all entities, friend or foe, can now become unkillable, creating a Wild West duel situation where whoever can react faster when the death immunity wears off will win. By activating Cosmic Radiance at the tail end of Kindred's ultimate, you pretty much guarantee a teamfight win, as everyone will be low HP but your team will be invincible. Also, given the inherent squishiness and lack of hard CC on Kindred, Dazzle and Bastion help out a ton in that department. Meanwhile, Taric benefits from Kindred's impeccable late game scaling to facilitate a hypercarry. You don't see this combo too often due to Taric being an unpopular support and jungle and support combinations being less of a thing. But when it works, it works. ADC and support duos, on the other hand, may very well be the most customary type of champion pairs on the basis of them being obligated to play alongside each other from the very beginning of a match. Expect to see many of them included in the video, the first of which being Yuumi and Twitch. That rhymed. Neither Yuumi nor Twitch are known for a particularly strong laning phase. Where they really shine is in the mid to late game courtesy of their excellent scaling and unique abilities. In particular, Yuumi's penchant for going invisible if the companion she's attached to enters stealth enables the two of them to maneuver around the map entirely undetected. Skulking around even by himself makes Twitch a scary presence, as he can find a good flank angle to gun down your entire team off a single ultimate. With these two working together, however, any 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3 can become a 1v3, 2v4, or 3v5 at a moment's notice, and the kind of power Yuumi offers Twitch cannot be understated. To start, Twitch gets ample access to heals and shields, giving him the ability to withstand enemy attempts to burst or counterattack him. Moreover, Prowling Projectile affords a slow to keep enemies within firing range of his shots to rack up more damage and bonus magic damage on hit to boot. Further, Twitch's Spray and Pray in tandem with Runon's Hurricane allow him to apply an insane amount of on-hits at once, which Yuumi's W can take full advantage of by providing healing on hit. Lastly, Final Chapter can heal Twitch a bunch and provide a massive AoE slow on the enemy team to keep them still for Twitch to fire on everybody at once. While technically Yuumi can apply these buffs to any marksman, not just Twitch, it works especially on Twitch thanks to Yuumi not giving away his position when he goes invisible if the support wants to follow him. One of the more aggravating duo carry combos in the game for how cheesy it feels to run into, no pun intended. This duo combination used to be legendary for being one of the first popularized duo combos in the game, notably with the whole Shadow Isles motif they share. For my money, I still consider them a top 3 contender. You do not know the meaning of 2v8 until you run into a good Kalista and Thresh combo. This duo is prepared to handle any situation and adapt to any change in circumstance one can think of. For one, both Kalista and Thresh are capable of repositioning each other, making them exceptionally hard to pin down. Anytime Kalista's caught in a bad spot, Thresh can land her to safety. Anytime Thresh gets a Q off, he can dash and usher Kalista closer to her target, alleviating her otherwise poor effective range and keeping enemies pinned down for Kalista to run circles around them. During any point where Thresh gets caught, Kalista can use her ultimate to yank him away or to briefly reposition and throw him back in. And if both of them need to run away, Kalista can pull Thresh, Thresh can then throw himself away from the enemy team, then lantern Kalista out to safety. There are simply far too many combinations of things you can do with these two that fighting them can be onerous at best and near impossible at worst. Few supports, if any, carry the repertoire to complement and facilitate Kalista's playstyle and win condition more than Thresh. With how strong their trades and all-in potential are, even early game, and their equally powerful mid-game pressure, I've witnessed plenty of Kalista-Thresh duels 2v3 or even 2v4. When you engage on them, they have plenty of resources to retreat, and if they engage on you, it can be unfathomably challenging to put distance between you and them. The only thing preventing Kalista Thresh from being busted is how much practice it takes to play them well and the coordination required from each player to be on the same page. I'd even go so far as to argue it is the highest skill floor duo combination in the video. Taking a break from bot lane for a bit, here we have another dangerous pairing that, from my experience, may also be one of the more recurring ones. I tend to see Diana and Yasuo once every 20 or so games, and it's not hard to understand why. Junglers work remarkably well in concert with mid laners in the early to mid game from a macro point of view. Mid laners have the capacity to roam either top or bot in a short time frame, and they're usually the first ones to help out for stuff like Dragon or Void Grubs. In particular though, Yasuo and Diana have the perfect combination when it comes to engage. You might be wondering why Diana over Malphite. Wouldn't Yasuo Malphite be a more effective choice? Ostensibly that may appear the case, but let me explain why Diana is often better. 1. Diana is a way more threatening champion overall. She can far eclipse Malphite in damage output and rush down even after using her ultimate. Once Malphite burns ultimate, he kinda just runs to the nearest enemy and slowly punches them down. 2. The main purpose of Last Breath is not for damage, it's to extend the CC duration of the engager and give Yasuo a way into the fight quickly. The only thing keeping Moonfall from being overpowered is that enemies can easily dash or flash out of her ultimate blast radius before it connects. Yasuo's ultimate guarantees enemies get hit by Moonfall, and if Diana connects it on 3 or more enemies, Moonfall effectively becomes a far stronger Malphite ultimate. 3. Lunar Rush's ability to reset gives Diana up to 1650 units of range, whereas Unstoppable Force is only 1000. In essence, Yasuo and Diana make for a strong double rushdown combo, accounting for both of them being extreme threats to the enemy backline and playing into the idea that you can stop one of them, but you can't stop both of them. Not to imply Malphite and Yasuo aren't effective together, they're way more consistent and easier to play than Diana and Yasuo. But it can also be easier to play against, since Malphite can get hard countered in lane and thus be nothing but a CC bot. Diana can give Yasuo a way in and simultaneously present a threat of her own. Every ADC and support player has been made aware of this combination over the past couple years. I'd wager, against their will at that, I would consider Lucian and Nami to be the current most popular duo combination for how easy it is to play and the overwhelming snowball potential that comes with it. Nami is very much a jack of all trades support. She's got a bit of everything, engage and lockdown as well as sustain and buffing all in one. Practically no support exists that wouldn't want her. Why Lucian and Nami in particular work so harmoniously is thanks to a very meaningful change given to her Tidecaller's Blessing in 10.1, making it so even abilities can apply the effects of her buff. The two were always quite good with each other, owing to Lucian's capacity to fire auto attacks in quick succession of each other, but this change was definitely the nail in the coffin. Lucian can apply all 3 procs of Nami's E in less than a second, leading to incredibly high front-loaded burst damage. Because Lucian has no form of crowd control in his kit whatsoever, being able to slow and lock down enemies also presents an opportunity for him to land the full force of his culling on a single target, with Aqua Prison and Tidal Wave being great tools to attack or defend, not to mention all of Nami's abilities providing a speed boost to augment his already good tempo with Ardent Blaze. Likewise, Lucian's passive Vigilance buff works fantastically with Nami, who has 2 hard CC abilities and a heal on her W to give him 3 ways to get the bonus magic damage on autos. This is actually one of the rare dual combos that had to get target nerfed, which only goes to show you how effective it was, and still frankly is. Another criminally underrated bot lane combo, but one that becomes damn near unplayable to go up against when done correctly, is Jhin and Xerath. An unusual pairing at first glance until you realize these two synergize a hell of a lot better with each other than one would think. Right away, the crown jewel of what makes this combo so deadly is of course the double semi-global ultimate they can pull off. Each of Jhin's bullets can apply a slow onto an enemy, short enough to where it wears off before the next bullet comes in, but long enough to where it effectively assures one of Xerath's bullets will strike true. Trying to avoid even one of their ultis can be hard enough for an immobile squishy, let alone both of them. To make matters worse, Xerath is extremely good at setting up Jhin for an easy W. The former carries multiple long-range abilities to apply a deadly flourish mark with Eye of Destruction and Shocking Orb assuring a 2¼ second root. One other underrated benefit in my opinion is their phenomenal cover fire strength. Jhin's traps plus Deadly Flourish in conjunction with all of Xerath's abilities make approaching them and their team extraordinarily frustrating. If you don't have a hulking bulking on your team like a Mundo who can face tank everything while you hide behind him, you're in for a rough time. Jhin and Xerath are basically unplayable to fight against without a frontline. Enchanters don't help, they can heal or shield one of the two's DPS, not both. Okay, back out of bot lane for a couple more non-ADC support combos. This is another really annoying one to be on the receiving end of. We have Camille plus Galio. In an almost identical fashion to Diana and Yasuo, the benefit of Camille and Galio is that one effectively guarantees the other to devastating effect. Galio's hero's entrance might fall into the classification of super ultimate for its ability to be both an offensive and defensive engage tool in one. The downside to its usage offensively is that enemies can typically just run away before he touches down. No such options available when Camille's in the fray. Unlike Jarvan's ultimate, which while it does potentially trap multiple targets at once, Hextech Ultimatum outright forbids Camille's target from leaving unless they have a way to displace her, making it so a Galio ultimate is soon to follow. One more thing is that Camille obviously has way more kill pressure than Jarvan and more backline access overall. In addition to assuring that at least one target's about to get a face full of Galio, she can also use a follow-up CC to one-tap enemy squishies in the late game. Further, Galio's wide knockup range acts as a deterrent, discouraging the enemy team from coming to the victim's aid so as to avoid getting knocked up themselves. Beyond that, Camille and Galio make for a strong double engage. Both champions can rely on each other to make it easy for them to land their respective abilities. Camille needs enemies to hold still for a bit while she primes their empowered Q. Galio, meanwhile, tends to function better when someone else engages first, owing to his own engage being more telegraphed and easy to avoid. One of the more situational duos in the game, but again very strong when they get the chance. It wouldn't be a best duo combination video with at least one mention of Samira and Nautilus. Prevailing wisdom knows of Samira's dependence on frontline engagers offering her a way in, and among all of them, Nautilus is the most consistent one. Nautilus has just the right assortment of hard engage and lockdown that Samira needs. Not to say Leona, Thresh, Alistar, and whatnot can't do the same, but Nautilus in particular has always been touted for just how long he can CC a single target. Combining passive with Q and ultimate results in I believe 3.5 seconds of guaranteed lockdown, possibly more, of which he can apply that to multiple targets too. His passive being an on-hit route leads to many opportunities for Samira to gap close in and do that follow-up attack, and of course build up her passive for the eventual Inferno trigger. In addition, Nautilus has two long-range hard CCs, Q and ultimate. Samira's biggest weakness is that she can have a hard time getting in against enemy teams with a strong neutral game. This makes it more likely for Alistar, Leona, and Rel to be gatekept from walking up. On the flip side, hook champs like Blitzcrank and Thresh, while effective, are more for making picks and not for blowing up the entire enemy team. Samira wants someone who can get in and chain CC as many members of the enemy team as possible so she can get in and finish the job. Nautilus just so happens to be best suited for that. Okay, I think we're good to round it off there. Couple honorable mentions for strong duo pairings include, but are not limited to, Jarvan and Qiyana. J4 can instantiate a lot of terrain instantly, which Qiyana can take advantage of with her ultimate to knock enemies into a wall even if they're in the middle of a lane, and subsequently increase the effect radius of her ultimate. Lilia and Misfortune also make for a devastating combo since bullet time counts as damage over time, meaning if Lilia gets a 5-man sleep, MF can land her entire bullet time without waking them up. Although more likely than not someone else on the team will. A personal favorite of mine is Veigar and Poppy. Veigar cage and then you can use Poppy to forcibly push enemies into the wall. Rengar and Ivern's also quite annoying. Free brushes and plenty of ways to assist Rengar in getting closer to his target and staying on his target. This one in particular would be a lot more common, the only issue is both of them are junglers. Caitlyn and Morgana is also a good one since landing either of their roots can guarantee the other for upwards of 4.5 seconds of lockdown. It bears mentioning that in my eyes, the best duo combinations are not necessarily the highest win rate ones. The inherent nature of champion pairs is the communication and player synergy needed to pilot them to the fullest. That said, I'd like to hear about any other combos you think are worth mentioning, especially underrated ones that you don't see too often. Let me know in the comments down below. That'll be all for today, so if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @Vars and join my Discord server, and check out my other champion discussion videos if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.